Hi, today we're going over section 4.6, which is analyzing quadratic functions of a form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So that form is known as our general form. Now, if we can factor it, it can help us graph because essentially our zeros from that are the locations of our x-intercepts. If we average our x-intercepts, we have our x value of a vertex, which we can then put into our equation to solve for the y value of a vertex. So for example, graph x squared plus 2x minus 8. So if I were to graph this and start by factoring, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to -8, add to 2. So that'd be +4 and -2, which means my x-intercepts would be at -4 and +2. So I'll mark those out. So at +2 as well as -4. I also know that my c value is my y-intercept. So that's down at -8. And we can average our x-intercepts to get the x of our vertex. So x of our vertex would be -4 plus 2 divided by 2. So that would be -2 over 2. So -1. Now y of our vertex we'll solve by putting that x value into our equation x squared plus 2x minus 8. So I have -1 squared plus 2 times -1 minus 8. So -1 squared is 1, minus 2 is -1, minus 8 is -9. So I know my vertex is -1, comma -9. So I'll plot that. I have my two x-intercepts, my y-intercept, and my vertex. So I have enough to graph my quadratic function. Okay, next example, graph y equals x squared plus 4x minus 12. So once again, we'll start by factoring this. So we want two things that multiply to -12 and add to 4. So that would be +6 and -2. So that gives us x-intercepts at -6 and +2. Once again, I've got my y-intercept of -12, so that would be down here somewhere. And I'll get the x of my vertex by averaging my x-intercepts. Which gives me a value of -2. Now to get the y of a vertex, we'll write out our equation and then substitute the x of a vertex in. So we've got x squared plus 4x minus 12. We'll substitute in our -2. So we have -2 squared plus 4 times -2 minus 12. So that will give us 4 minus 8 minus 12. So that will be -16. So our vertex is at -2, -16. So it would be down here somewhere. And once again, we've got our x-intercept, our y-intercept, and our vertex. So we have enough information to graph our quadratic. Okay, our next example is graphing y equals -2x squared plus 16x minus 14. We have a -2 in one of our x squared terms, so we'll factor that out before doing our product sum factoring because everything here is divisible by 2. So that gives us x squared minus 8x plus 7. So we'll factor this now. So we have -2 times, we'll find two things that multiply to 7, add to -8. So that would be -1, -7. So that gives us x-intercepts. That gives us x-intercepts at 1 and 7. So averaging those to get a vertex. So we'd have 1 plus 7 divided by 2. So that would be 4. We then have our equation of -2x² plus 16x minus 14. Substitute our 4 in. So we have -2 times 4² plus 16 times 4 minus 14. So 4² is 16 times -2 is -32. 16 times 4 is positive 64. So -32 plus 64 is 32, minus 14 is 18. So okay, x-intercepts at 1 as well as 7, y-intercept of -14, and our vertex is at 4, 18. So it will be a bit off our graph in this case. So our graph will look something like this. Okay, writing equations using our x-intercepts. We want to find our x-intercepts on our graph, then use x-intercepts to write for binomial factors. So for example, if we have -4 and +2 as x-intercepts, they would become x plus 4 and x minus 2. To find our a value, we choose one upper point on the graph and substitute it in for x and y, and then rearrange and solve for a. We then want to write out and expand into general form. This one, right, equation, we have x-intercepts at -1 and -3, which means when I write out my equation, I have y is equal to a, x plus 1, x plus 3. We then find another point on our graph to plug in for x and y. I can clearly see where my vertex is. This vertex is at -2, -1. So I'll plug that in for x and y and then solve for my a value. So I have -1 is equal to a times -2 plus 1 times -2 plus 3. So that's -1 is equal to a times -1 times +1. So we have -1 equals -a. So our a in this case is equal to 1. So because a equals 1, we can write our equation without the a value. So we have x plus 1 times x plus 3. We'll then want to FOIL this out. So we have y is equal to x² plus 3x plus x plus 3, and we'll combine like terms. So we've got y equals x² plus 4x plus 3. And that would be our equation in general form. Here's another example. Write our equation. So we have x-intercepts at -3 +3 and +5. So therefore, writing our equation, we have y is equal to ax minus 3 times x minus 5. I'll choose another location, in this case, once again, my vertex, which is at 4, 2. I'll substitute that in for x and y to help me solve for a value. So I have 2 is equal to a times 1 times -1. So I have 2 equals negative a. So -2 is equal to a. So my equation would be y is equal to -2 times x minus 3 times x minus 5. Now we have to FOIL this out. I will leave the -2 in front till the very end. So I've got -2 times x is x squared. X times -5 is -5x. -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -5 is +15. We'll combine like terms. So we've got -2 times x squared minus 8x plus 15. And then I will multiply the -2 into it. So we have y equals -2x squared plus 16x minus 30. And that would be our equation in general form. Okay, so practice for this section starts on page 326.